everyone. Welcome to ATM Blowout. ATM Blowout is syndicated live program of the network where we hold conversation on special interest topics to bring you news, events, and stories through correspondent reports. We do also do this through expert opinions and stakeholders analysis. Today on ATM Blowout, take off with Anchor's chat. EFCC refuses to produce CBN Governor Emefiele.
Right from Bayelsa State, we have Musien won against voter suppression in November 11 poll.
In Enugu State, court restrains NYC from denying issuing birth certificates.
2023 elections, Supreme Court judgment breached total confidence in our judiciary, coming from Peter Obi.
In Adamawa State, INEC suspended Rec Unisa Ari fails to appear in court.
In Borno State, we have Boko Haram massacres 9 rice farmers, cause missing.
And in Nasarawa State, Governor Abdullahi advocates for law to reposition mining sector.
In Abuja, we have FCTA gives 1-week ultimatum to squatters in Apo Duse.
In governance, federal government trains media on effective reportage. Our guest on the show this morning is the former public spokesperson for Labour Party in Rivers State, Dr. Amadi Solomon. He has joined us this morning as a public affairs analyst. Stay with us. We'll come back to you on Anchor's chat after the break. ATM Blowout, everyone. So Bessel and I are ready to find out why these people refused to bring Emefiele to court yesterday. Well, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in Abuja have refused to produce former governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, before a high court of the Federal Capital Territory. The release order made on November 2nd was said to have been ignored by some alleged confusion in the interpretation of the court order. But Justice Olukayode Adegbola Adeniyi, who was taken aback by EFCC's actions, rejected the claims and reaffirmed his order that Emefiele be either released on bail or be produced in court on Wednesday, November 8th, for the purpose of admitting him to bail. The judge warned that the consequences of flouting the order would be reinforced to the latter. Is anything going to happen?
Well, they've set the stage for seeming flouting of instructions and rulings by the courts. So it's not outside the spheres of reasoning, that you are seeing what is happening now.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, is it not on this same MFLA's case that they fought in a job?
So it's just like a toothless dog barking.
The judiciary can do nothing.
This is not what this was supposed to be.
This has become a given in this country. We can even say it's a fact because on this MFLA's case, remember in Lagos State, Justice can't remember his name now, the one that also gave the ruling on the Silva's former case. I can't remember, but he finished giving a ruling asking them to, in fact, they signed a remand order for Emefiele to be taken to the correctional facility, prison.
Yes.
DSS fought physically.
The video was viral.
Exactly.
It was
fought these people fought the prison officials to stand still, got the prison official, your fellow law enforcement agent with his uniform. You couldn't respect Nigeria. You couldn't tore his shirt in public, fought him to a standstill. And guess what? Order from above came, and the Emefiele continued to stay in DSS custody. Oh, finally, after they released Bawa, they now moved the Emefiele to EFCC custody. And guess what? And I'm going to say this, and anyone can attack me or do whatever. I think it's too much of an embarrassment that even when a lot of the persons said that Olukoyede is not supposed to be the EFCC boss based on the fact that he doesn't have the requisite or basic, he didn't meet the right, all the criteria he should, that he as a lawyer would claim that he cannot interpret a court judgment. I think that is too much of an embarrassment, and people should stop playing with us in this country. If you're going to release this man, release him. How can you say you cannot interpret? What's the confusion there? Either you release him or you bring him in court so that the proceedings can continue. Like we said the other time, they're literally turning this man into a saint. We know what the Emefiele did in this country, how he swayed monetary policy, caused a lot of havoc. I can tell you, I know one or two businesses that shut down that period.
That's true.
SMEs were hugely affected. And all of that, when you should be talking about querying him on the things he did, you're fighting. Honestly, I think we should find a way to be waking up in another country, because every time you wake up in Nigeria, there's something that is going to make you really pissed off. They are turning us into angry Nigerians by the day. There are so many of us
right
these
now?
days. Yeah.
How do you wake up in another country? How do you
I
actually?
don't know.
All right,
it's like waking up in Nigeria just makes you angry by the day. Like, are you serious?
We signed up
With
for
a lawyer.
this.
I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't. I didn't sign up for this. Bestseller, no, I didn't sign up. How do you tell me that EFCC has a lawyer that has about 20 years experience? I mean, he cannot interpret the court judgments. Come on now. Come on.
Well, Bukar, the attorney to Emefiele, is actually pushing hard on this, but it seems like everyone is just at a confused junction at this moment, because things are not supposed to have been this way if the judiciary actually did all they could do or that they were required to do in the previous past elections, because this is where the crux of the matter is. This is the whole branch of it, That takes me a little bit back and to digress a bit. Emefiele, the name Emefiele, actually means, that's an Igbo word, it means do not offend. Emefiele.
Oh, is that what it means?
Yeah, do not offend, because I took my time to actually analyze his name. Do not offend, don't get it wrong. Don't, hurt someone. Emefiele,
really?
yes, Emefiele. So, sometimes they say names go, the names you answer actually leaves after you, runs after you. So I really still want to say that, like we discussed last time, I don't know if this is an extension of what names is all about. I said it here last time. But that's aside, because this is the law. This is the law. I said the other day there was an advocacy group that kept you blushing and laughing here. The truth, nothing more, nothing else. Yes, they were really pushing to call the president's attention to the prolonged stay of Emefiele in custody, to charge him to court within 7 days or grant him bail. So I wonder why this is becoming a serious drama in Nigeria this time around, because it actually goes a long way, like it's a witch hunt, like it's a personal vendetta,
how does your personal vendetta against Emefiele affect the over 200 million Nigerians that was affected by?
Because the president is not actually responding to this. It takes just one call away,
I don't
and
know.
all of this.
Sometimes I honestly think that there is a consciousness. There's a conscious step being taken subtly or otherwise, directly or indirectly, somewhere or one way or the other, to ensure that Nigerians are provoked, that people literally run mad in this country. You can't, every day we read this in the news. You just said that if either you release him or you let him go.
Yes.
You guys, my angst on this Emefiele's issue is the fact that look at it, the EFCC boss would look at us in the face. You're sitting down there with all the issues that came up with the appointment. You were finally confirmed by the National Assembly. You sit down there and you can't interpret a lawyer. You can't interpret court judgment. Excuse me.
And the court judgment on Barra was properly and nicely interpreted, and he's out.
I guess so.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess so. So you cannot interpret court judgments. Why exactly, again, are they even holding? What are they even holding Emefiele for?
This is
if
beyond.
we're going to talk
This
about
is
this.
seriously beyond what you can see. There is someone. There are powers that are actually calling the shots and still keeping Emefiele, to serve well till they're satisfied.
To what end? If this man committed any crime, Kadoso is there right now. If there are any crime he committed while he was serving in as CBN governor, charge him for that. We have even helped you by pointing out that the lawyer said that he is not supposed to run for a political office. He did. We saw his campaign poster, which he has not denied. All of these things. Basically, he was a member of the ruling party.
Yes.
And all of that, he was going to run for president. Okay, and now the twin policy issue. I also talked about it a few days ago when we talked about it. I said, hey, there is need to have this conversation, which points to one fact. You remember the Supreme Court again said by December 2023, which is next month, we'll be done with the old Naira. Where are the new Naira notes? What is your vendetta against Emefiele tied to? You want to show him that, oh, maybe you've become the president or you've become the CBN governor or whatever it is you want to show him. But that is not our interest. This country still belongs to us, the last time I checked.
Yeah.
If Emefiele, President Bola Tinubu, if Emefiele, you actually think there is something you have on him, this is looking like an Nnamdi Kanu issue again.
Yes,
and I don't
actually,
know why these people
honestly.
keep you, and then you see the judge saying, there will be consequences. What consequences?
That's the ridiculous.
You gave
part
a
of
ruling
this.
and remanded this man, signed a warrant for him to be taken to correction at the prison facility. He wasn't taken there. And then you sit down there, you tell us consequences. What happened?
Really, on a more serious note.
The judiciary doesn't have the power to execute some of the punishments, but all the punishment that they have given. They sit down there, they make the rules, make the order, make declaration. Those who should prosecute this happen to be the Nigerian police and other law enforcement agencies. How many of these laws given by the judiciary have they implemented? When and where and how? I find it very offensive that Nigerian leaders, from the judiciary to law enforcement agencies and to the government, to the executive, they keep taking, I don't know, maybe somehow they feel like the grey matter on our head is rotten or something. Maybe they feel like the grey matter on our head is rotten or something. Maybe that's why they somehow feel like it's easy for them to do some of these things, which is not ideal. And I keep saying it, and I've said it over and over again. If you cannot interpret court ruling, Olukoyade, what exactly are we going to be expecting from you? This is supposed to be the first major assignment you were given. If you cannot interpret a court ruling, why exactly are you sitting there? This is the first thing you're supposed to deliver. Did Emefiele commit a crime? Then do so. Now, from DSS, accusing him of arms running, accusing him of everything you can think about. Money laundering, financing terrorism, and arms purchase or something. All of those. Yes.
He couldn't have done alone without.
No, well, let's even say he did alone. I don't even know the connection he has with the terrorists and all of that. But
And even
let's
the past president.
Let's even assume he did. Yeah. Okay. What did you make out of that? Why did you not release him from DSS? You took him to EFCC. Now that he's in EFCC, I want to believe that all the months while he was in the DSS detention, the DFCC would have run some check on him to say, while you were the CBN governor, you committed this crime, you did this, you did that, you did that. And if that is the case, can we have the charge sheet spread out? Let the judges know what they are dealing with. People should stop making mockery of the judiciary. Because at the end of the day, if you make the judiciary the way they are going about it and look like they are toothless bulldog, like, okay, because no matter what you look, how you look at the judiciary doesn't have the power to actually execute some of the highest thing they can do. They go on strike, shut down, and so okay, since nobody wants to respect us and all of that, maybe they need to take some of this action. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think the institutions of government in this country should stop taking us for granted. You can, how do you even explain? You cannot interpret.
49 days in custody is not a joke.
You cannot interpret court ruling. Are you being serious right now? Anyway, that's what you can do on Anchor's chat. Dr. Solomon Amadi is seated live here in the studio. We'll also come back to you with him as we blow out on other issues. He is warning against any form of voter suppression in the Saturday election. But now, if you need to run, I understand a lot of people need to go to work. You'll be on your way. Remember, we got you covered. All you need to do is watch us live from our website, AtlanticTelevisionNetwork.tv, or you can watch us live from the app, ATN Live. Download that from the App Store if you have not done that. Better still, watch us live on Facebook and YouTube, and that's Atlantic Television Network. We'll come back to you after the break, everyone. Stay with us. heading to Bayelsa State. Let me quickly welcome our guest on the show today, and for the very first time, Dr. Amadi Solomon. Good to have you on ATM Blowout.
Thank you very much, Livia. Good morning. Thank you.
How does it feel after the elections and everything that you all have had to go through for the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, the obedience, and finally the Supreme Court's rulings? How does all of that feel?
From when we started, I want to first of all thank you for inviting me to this program.
You're welcome.
From when we started, we never actually thought it was going to be an easy thing, because we already knew the society we found ourselves. We knew that the electoral system was not a good one, and then we knew that the fight we are up for are against people whose interest is to put our society down, make all of us poor at the expense of them buying yachts and all sorts, building houses for their girlfriends and families and
But you can't verify that.
Yes, we cannot verify it, but we all know, like I said, it's our society. So the obedient movement and the Labour Party as at then knew that what we were coming to fight for is the heart of the country, and that we were going to fight from the beginning to the end against these people. And it's so unfortunate that these people are everywhere in the society, especially in government, and that is what played out. But we are happy at what we had done. We were able to tell the country, the entire country, that Nigeria as a whole does not belong to only the political class. Nigeria belongs to the young people, especially, and to the future.
Awesome. I think it's good to know that you all left off all of this on a good note. But let's start off from Bayelsa State. We'll come back to a bit of a Peter Obi's position on all of this.
All right. Movement for the survival of his own ethnic nationality in the Niger Delta has warned security agents in charge of the November 11 gubernatorial election in Bayelsa State to avoid being used to intimidate and suppress eligible voters. The group also urged the security agents to ensure that all eligible voters exercise their civil rights without disenfranchisement by any politician or their sponsored thugs, adding that they ought to brace up and protect the people during the exercise. In a statement issued on Monday in Yenagoa, National Secretary of Mosend, Ambassador Winston Amen maintained that there is always life after every one election, and as such, the actors and non-actors alike should shun every move that could lead to a breach of the existing peace in the state. He said political parties are clothes politicians were to participate as required by the electoral laws. Okay, we're still seriously dealing with the November 11 election, which is just by some few days to come, and everyone is already dozed up with the advice of trying to make it a free, fair, and credible election. But that's, as we have it up there, we would like you to give us your take in all of this, owing to the fact that INEC has, shown some peculiarities, some irregularities in the past elections. So with all of this advice coming up on board, what do we expect actually?
Okay, thank you. You know why I'm laughing? I'm laughing because the Supreme Court has just set aside our constitution. So a country without a constitution, having an election, what do you expect? You expect chaos, you expect irregularities. The last electoral law give opportunity for the IREVs to be the collating center, and then the beavers to be the source of accreditation. But from the last Supreme Court ruling, it just obviously put everything the way it has always been, and it's always been that the INEC decides, the police decides, and then after voting you see a different kind of result. Yeah. So
Okay, speaking of voter suppression, according to Mohsen, there are no rooms for anyone today to do that. Well, as at the last check, the Nigerian police have already released about 30,000 policemen to cater for the November election, for 40,000 for Kogi, 30 for Bayelsa State. That's on one side, and we were asked that's on one side, and we also have the Nigerian army, Nigerian military, meeting with the governor and making some kind of a subtle threats, if you may, against anyone, even within their own rank and file, who attempts to disrupt the electoral process. If you look at the news from INEC about 2 days ago saying, 220 additional operational vehicles has been released for the November election. We're just talking about 3 states. And then Olumuyiwa was talking about water guns, canisters of tear gas, this, that. We are asking, are we going to war? If we're not going to war with all of this, why do you think Mohsen is troubled that there may be voter suppression in Bayelsa State?
Okay. Over the years, we have always seen how elections are run in our society. We believe that most times when the federal government sends the police, even the people are scared that they are sending these people to come and make us not to have the right to control what. But however it is, the Constitution gives them the opportunity to make sure people are not intimidated, even if we think otherwise. What would happen in 11th, we hope that the people would be able to come out because of the voters' apathy coming from the last February elections. And we hope that Bayelsa people will be able to go back and tell themselves the state belongs to us. We will take the state and we'll make sure our votes count. That's the only way. But if you're expecting that the police they are going to bring would be enough to stop these things from happening, then it will still be the way it has always been in the past.
No. Another angle to all of this is in Bayelsa, the INEC have just last night released Silva's name as one of the 16 contestants of the governorship election. And then going back to the fact that amongst the 3 leading candidates, Chief Timothy Silva, Senator Doyediri, and Comrade Udeng Seradu of the Labour Party, if you look at these 3 candidates and lined up as the leading candidates for the Bayelsa State election, and you also look back at the history of elections in Bayelsa State when it comes to violence and threats of violence, especially around the Basambari-Nembe area, one is wondering also remember that this is mainly a riverine area. One is wondering how much of this voter suppression could Mohsen have seen to now make it an official statement to say this will not be allowed?
Haven't grown in our society. I've been around all these years. I just know that statements they make from the law enforcement agents are just statements. Most times, they say it because they have to say it, but everybody have got what they want to execute and then what they want to do. First, if you look at 30,000 policemen in how many states?
Just for Bayelsa.
Just for Bayelsa. And then it means that each polling unit would have like 2 or 3 policemen, as against how many people come in to vote. You understand that might not on its own be enough. And then the role of the police most times is how will I put it? In our society, the role of the police is somehow, if I judge by the last election, I would say most times they tend to listen to whoever that is in power. So this time we are not expecting anything contrary, except if the people of Bayelsa decides to say that our state belongs to us, we must take back our state. And that is what P2B has always stressed. The people, everything belongs to the people. 3 police against 500 people. The police can barely do nothing. So if the people decide they want these votes to count, they want to cast their vote and make sure the vote counts, definitely it will count. But if we are hoping on the police to stop criminals from we have gone over this over and over and over again since 1999, and for me, I don't expect anything special.
Okay, when you talk about what has happened in February and March elections, and how much that will impact the people who are in Bayelsa State right now. So when we talk about voter suppression, for instance, one is wondering, is Mosian trying to point at something that the authorities should know about, or is this just the normal, an organization, an ethnic-based or regional-based organization speaking up when and where it is necessary? Are there things about Bayelsa State when it comes to electioneering that one needs to be wary of, that the security agencies, for instance, beyond the warning given by the military, for instance, that one needs to be wary of when it comes to the key players?
We all know from time immemorial, from 1999, that Bayelsa State is a volatile environment. There are a lot of people who are politically conscious and want to take advantage of the vulnerability of the people and do whatever they want to do. Like I have said, and I will say it over and over again, the only way to take care of these things is to institute a free and fair election. An election that is not controlled by people who are organizing the process. An election that is controlled by the people, not by the people who are organizing the process. If you go by what we have and by the ruling we had in the last elections, then we'll still see violence and violence over and over again, and people would at the end of the day not want to even come out for any election. But I have said it over and over again, if Bayelsa people want a better government, a better state, they should stand up and decide what happens in 11th of November election, and that's what it is.
All right.
Let me just I like to also bring in this. The off-season election cuts across 3 states for now. Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo State, and then all has seriously been put in place. INEC is saying, all that they feel they have to say in conviction or of this election, that they are set to get it right this time around. And of course we expect nothing short of this. Looking at what happened in the February-March election, one really would want to keep their hope not dashed, because it was enough to really have no hopes anymore. So but looking at what INEC has been saying and all the machinery that are put in place, is it okay to actually be hopeful that somehow something good might certainly turn out or come out of this election?
Okay, thank you. They always say that hope is audacious. We cannot as a country decide to say, okay, we will not hope for a better country, because if you do that, we are giving these criminals a floor to enslave us the more. So there is every room for us to hope that people would be able to get conscious, people would be able to come out and try to make a difference, which was what happened in February. And then if the truth is that if we give up hope in everything, then we will all turn to slaves, as it were.
So let's get straight to the next conversation. The Federal High Court in Abuja has issued an order restraining the National Youth Service Corps from further denial of issuing the NYS certificate being paraded by Enugu Governor Peter Mbah. Justice Ian Ekwo, in a judgment on Monday, the court held that evidence before the court showed that Mbah properly participated in the NYSC program and that he was issued a certificate of completion by the NYSC. the court held that the NYSC misrepresented facts in its claim that it did not issue the certificate submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission before the last governorship election. The judge faulted them for not producing before the court 2 files containing information about Mba's participation in the program, noting that NYSC handled the case with levity. He also awarded 5 million naira in damages against the NYSC and on favor of Mba. Sometimes when cases go through the courts, and at the end of the day, it actually supposedly comes out clean. It's quite impressive and very encouraging, because when the embattled governor, as at then, with regards to his NYSC certificate, was an issue, it was almost really tempting the image himself and the NYSC. But now things obviously seems to be straightened. I'd like to have your take on this.
I'm taken a lot aback from responding to some of these things after what happened in February and the Supreme Court judgment. I have come to the analysis that the judiciary, the National Assembly, is totally being controlled by a certain set of people. So, talking about NYSC and the High Court giving a judgment in favor of Mba, the judgment would favor the Labour Party if it is upheld the way it is. But I can tell you, if I give you a certificate, I know the original of the certificate. I have a list of people that were there at that particular time. If you had served, you will understand that it's not everybody that serves, that actually served, were given the certificate. There are different measures to make sure that when you come to serve, you complete that process. And when you don't complete that process, the certificate is being taken away from you. And when somebody does not complete this process, and the NYSC says we will not give you a certificate, that does not take them away from doing the right thing. Mba, NYSC came out plainly and said, we did not issue you a certificate. This certificate you presented to INEC. And that is a very serious statement. And for courts to now say NYSC does not have the right to say Mba did not finish the process, then we will now start asking, were they there? How did they arrive at that? Like I said, I take a lot back, because I have seen that our society is totally caged by a set of people whose interest is solely to steal from the society. And I don't know why they are doing that. A lot of them is because of money. But all we are going to do is to just keep pushing and keep hoping that a better Nigeria will come. As for this, I don't know what the court expects everybody to think. But for me, this is really not fair on NYSC.
Okay, now, when I read this judgment, I followed this story ab initio, and when these judgments came to the fore, one of the things that I observed is that, like you pointed out somewhat, is that NYSC was not given opportunity to even present their own proper evidence. What we heard the judge say is that the evidence that Mba presented is enough to ascertain that he served in the NYSC. Now, when you deny the NYSC the opportunity to restrain Mba from the certificate he has, remember the NYSC official came out to say that's not our certificate. We would expect the judge to give and have an open court where these things can be verified. But that is not the case. He only said what Mba presented is evidence enough to show. At this point, is it safe for the NYSC, for an institution, if we're going to see that as a credible institution that people can still rely on, if you may, the NYC at this point do the needful to prove itself beyond reasonable doubt?
NYSC can only abide by the law, and then the only thing they can do is to appeal, and the appeal, of course, NYSC is an MDA under the federal government. The appeal will be subject to whatever the federal government decides. So, to say that NYSC is handicapped at this particular point, I feel so. And I feel so sorry for them. But where I feel so bad is the fact that our society is turning to something that cannot be described. For instance, in the village, if an old man wants to judge against you, they know how to do it. In our court system, if they want to say something against you, even against the right things, they can. And they know how to use the language around it. And we saw it in the last few months. If you are the judge of anything, for anything, and you want to judge against anything, there is always a way to say it. But that is why judges are made to be credible people who can say the truth. Standing on the bench, you have to be saying the truth at every time. But when you are related to a politician who would put you under pressure to judge in favor of, saying the truth becomes a problem.
Yeah, what about how this affects the institution called NYSC? When we talk about certificate forgery, in 2023 elections particularly, this has been a major deal. This has been a big deal when we talk about certificate forgery. For instance, this matter of Mba and the NYSC right now, it should be NYSC versus Peter Mba. It shouldn't be NYSC versus Peter Mba versus the courts. Because that is what it's beginning to look like. And in this scenario right now, again I asked after the Supreme Court judge ruling on the 2023 presidential election, and I asked again, referring to what we saw, what Nigerians did to the little girl from Anambra State, Mesoma, who forged her certificate. You also made a statement that our constitution has been set aside when it comes to electoral rulings and all of that. Are we at the point where we begin to say that certificate forgery, whether directly from the school or from an institution, is no longer a big deal as far as Nigeria is concerned? There is no point for you to verify whether it's a forged certificate or not.
The truth is that from the events that have happened in the last 6 months or thereabout, we are already institutionalizing forgery in our environment. Because you can't tell me that a child would look at what has happened in the last 4 years and decide that forgery is not a normal thing in our environment. We were just talking about what happened in Chicago State University, and now our own NYSC is being put under pressure, is being put to the corner with this Mbaze case. What they are doing totally is taking away the powers of the NYSC. That ability to say you did not complete your service, go back and repeat this service. We will not give you this certificate. This certificate is not our certificate. Those things are the things that the court has just taken away from them. So now if you did not serve complete and NYSC did not give you any certificate, you have the right to go and forge your own certificate, drop it, and then when NYSC says it's not our certificate, you go to the court and the court says, it's between us and you. So from what you have, the evidence you have, you served. Our society is going.
Okay, now, so
crazy.
Why is Stella Odwa? Why is Kemi Adeosun? Why were these ladies dragged through the media and what have you? Why Kemi Adeosun, for instance, was even forced to resign her position as the finance minister at the point?
Okay. Over time, you will understand that the justice system we inherited in 1999.
Okay.
The justice system we inherited in 1999 is somewhat made of people who were taken randomly, not by politicians. So over time, they retired. Between 1999 to 2015 or thereabout, a lot of them retired. And between 1999 to 2015 and now, the politicians have systematically put in their relatives and people who are politically affiliated to them to decide these cases. If you look at Rivers State, the last 4 years, go and look at the people that have been enlisted in the bench. You will understand what I'm talking about. These people are either related directly to the politicians, wives, children, or relatives, so that they can be able to influence the activities of our society. So the reason behind Stella Odua and the rest of them is the fact that the judges that were there then, the political class were afraid of them. They could not influence their activities. They were not related to the political class. And of course, the political class was just a new one that was just coming up, looking for a way to find themselves around stealing the funds of the people. So those judges, the political class were scared of these judges, and that is why they could not do anything. If it was now, of course, nobody would, they would institute the fact that Stella Odua, of course, one judge would give a judgment in favor of Stella, and she will continue her position.
Kemi Adeosun.
Oh, Kemi, sorry.
Okay, then, so is this actually to say that corruption is seriously eating into the fabrics of our justice system, and what do we do to actually bring a total overhaul and sanity?
It's almost impossible to overhaul it, because overhauling it will mean that you have to start sacking people, taking them off the bench, which is not a possibility. What can happen is reorientation. That is why everybody came behind P2B. Let me tell you why P2B got a lot of support. We all wanted a new system. We all wanted a new set of people that is being controlled by someone that is sane, someone that is thinking about the people, someone that has demonstrated in the past that he believes that our environment can function and work well. So it's a total reorientation. If from the federal government, everybody, trust me, every individual have a criminal tendency embedded in them. It's just that a lot of people say, okay, this is not right. Let me just stay back and do the right thing. But not very many would say, okay, this is right. My brother, this is wrong. I won't do it. And it's my brother that brought me into the system. So the whole thing is a reorientation. I think Nigeria needs to restart again. Restarting, I mean, is having someone at the head that believes in the country, that would work to bring everybody to their toes to do the right thing. If you do the wrong thing, they take you out. Reorientation is the most important thing. It's so unfortunate that even the media, they have so made it in such a way that if you say something that will change the mind of the people against the government, they start coming after you. I'm sure many times you have done one thing here, they will start calling you not to publicize that. It's really a bad situation where we find ourselves, our country.
Now, speaking of where we find ourselves as a country, and this Peter Mba situation, I ask again, if I decide to forge my certificate right now, my results right now, on what grounds will the judiciary hold me responsible? It's an open question, although you will attend to that. And here is what I'm asking. If cases are brought, one of the things we're going to discuss is about P2B's position on all of this anyway, which has to do with jettisoning. What should a judge should be considerate enough to look into and looking into another thing. So if I decide to say, okay, I need to attain to a certain position in my organization, or in a certain organization that I'm aiming at, and I go to LinkedIn, I pimp my resume and all of that, and then I print somewhere and all of that, and I'm caught. Or you know that I didn't attend those schools, for instance, and Dr. Amadi decides to say, no, I know Vivian well. I know she didn't do A, B, C, D, and you decide to go to court. And I have evidence that shows I was in that school. I sat down in that class. There is a precedent that has been set. On what grounds will the judge now want to look at, let's say it was in Uniport's original certificate and what I presented to them?
The judges,
do you think that these judges understand what they may be doing to whatever is left of our moral stand as a country?
I think even them, I feel for them. You know why I feel for them?
No,
because having to drop this kind of judgment is a very big task. As to if you followed the American judgment, it was easy for the judges to say this is right, this is wrong, all right. But for you to see something that is very wrong and call it right, it's a very difficult task, and you are putting yourself out there for people to say bad things about you. You're putting your reputation out there for people for people to scrutinize. You're putting just about everything, your children, tomorrow, the country at large. You're putting them to, you're bringing them in that judgment and making everybody see the entire country as not functioning. That's why I feel for them. But now, I can tell you that if that what you just said happens, it can go either way, depending on the mood of the judges.
So how then do you define justice?
No, in Nigeria is not justice.
Well, maybe that's, if you can't give the same leverage you gave to a Mr. Peter Mba of Enugu State, whom NYC came out to say, we didn't issue this certificate. If you can give him the leverage to say, we saw you that he brought evidence he was in NYC uniform, and maybe people who saw him in the camp and all of that, and then because of that, so if I come out to say that I'm a professor of ABCD from University of Port Harcourt, and they saw me in class and I have pictures, how can you say it's justice if you can't do what was done for Peter and Bart for me in my own case?
Some people actually got to camp. They kind of fixed their
even to camp. Even to camp,
exactly.
Yes.
So they were actually there. They had their NYC uniforms and all that. And at some point, it was checked from Abuja, and they were all recalled. So if they had taken
that's
pictures,
because somebody took time to do that.
Yeah, it always happened. I remember those days. They actually have a way of still checking back again to be sure that call-up members.
Letters, yeah.
So they verify the call-up letters, and if there are some fake omissions or whatever, those ones are called back again, even when they've snapped pictures, and it can be said that they were actually in camp.
So the judge doesn't want if there was a call-up
judgment.
They want to see evidence that I was in camp.
The ultimate thing is that NYC has come out to say that this is not.
But the judge, that's what we're saying. The judge didn't listen to that. I'm asking
most
him.
of the time.
This is according to their mood.
Judgment in most of the time in a sane environment has references. If you just like this Mba's judgment, it will be a reference for tomorrow, for another case.
Yeah.
But look at the Supreme Court judgment. Supreme Court had said 25% is compulsory in FCT. And then now, Supreme Court comes back to overlook 25%. That's the reason for which I said
it could go in that way.
Depends on the mood of the judges. so if you look at
it depends on their mood and not the letters of the law or the spirits that pen down the principles of what we call law today, how is that justice? So if I don't feel like it, I would just say, please, I'm not interested in looking at this thing. Please call the next case.
We already know that the two of us, even them that are bringing the judgments, already know that. See, this one is somehow, but they still have to. I explained earlier that if for me to become a judge, my brother who is a politician brings me into the bench and I become a judge, and my brother who is a politician has a friend that I am handling his case, and my brother comes to tell me, find a way and get him off, and I know that within my right, the Constitution gives me opportunity to make any decision I want to make and personalize it. And then I wait and make my decision.
What?
That's where our problem is. So systematically, our judges have been chosen by the politicians, and these judges have continuously made judgments that would favor these people.
I guess at this point, if we're to go by all we've elucidated on this, it's scary. But maybe we'll just remove the blindfold on Lady Justice and know that Lady Justice will have to see what it wants to see, that it's no longer blind. We'll take a break. We'll come back to you, everyone, and we'll talk about it. Next step from Peter Obi's Supreme Court official statement following the Supreme Court's ruling, but that will be after the break. Blowout, everyone. So yesterday, Obi's official speech after following the Supreme Court's ruling has been a major cause for concern. Let us take a roll down on all of that now. The Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Mr. Peter Obi, says the Supreme Court judgment that affirmed the Bola Tinubu's victory in the election as Nigeria's president breached Nigerians' trust in the country's judicial system. Mr. Obi, who spoke in response to the Supreme Court affirming the presidential tribunal decision in the World press conference held at the party's national headquarters in Abuja on Thursday, said, "I will speak forthrightly as students, as young lads at CKC, that's Christ the King Onitsha, Christ the King Catholic Church Onitsha, who were taught values and admonished to always choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong." Part of the excerpt says, a certain legal issue aside, the Supreme Court exhibited a disturbing aversion to public opinion just as it abandoned its responsibility as a court of law and policy. It is therefore with great dismay that I observe that the court's decision contradicts the overwhelming evidence of election rigging, false claim of a technical glitch, substantial non-compliance with rules set by INEC itself, as well as matters of perjury, identity theft and forgery that have been brought to light in the course of this election matter. These were hefty allegations that should not be treated with levity. More appalling, the Supreme Court judgment willfully condoned the breaches of the Constitution relative to established qualifications and parameters for candidates in presidential elections. With this counterintuitive judgment, the Supreme Court has transferred a heavy moral burden from the courtrooms to our national conscience. Our young democracy is ultimately the main victim and casualty of the courtroom drama. He said without equivocation, this judgment amounts to a total breach of the confidence of the Nigerian people have in our judiciary. To that extent, it is a show of unreasonable force against the very Nigerian people from whom the power of the Constitution derives. The Supreme Court's ruling may represent the state of the law in 2023, but not the present demand for substantive justice. The judgment mixed principles and precepts. Indeed, the rationale and premise of the Supreme Court judgment have become clearer in the light of the deep revealing and troubling valedictory remarks by Honorable Justice Musa Datijo Mohammed, Justice of the Supreme Court, on Friday, 27th October 2023. That's a part of the excerpt you can take on that OB speech. Justice Dajito, everyone seemed to be applauding, because let's start from the bottom. Now, everyone seemed to be applauding him for speaking up at his valedictory section, his retirement section. I don't personally think that should go that way. If you're seated here and something is wrong here, you should have the boldness to say this is wrong, not after the ills has been done. But going back to Obi's speech, now this is the first time I'm making this official step, I just had to do that. Going back to Obi's speech right now, which says Nigerian people have lost whatever trust they have left in the judiciary with this. You think that Obi has made any statement that is contrary to reason, considering the mood of the average Nigerian people, if you may?
I feel he in this statement even tried to water it down a little. We are all seeing these things. The Supreme Court justices are all seeing what is happening in our society. They all know the judgment here they are bringing, they are giving to us. They know the consequences. But what now marvels me is the fact that they don't give a damn about what the consequences are. Evidences were brought to the court. Some judges ignored those evidences, gave it technicalities for which they don't even want the evidence to surface. And then even the Supreme Court, something that everybody all over the world was talking about, the Supreme Court of the Federal Republic of Nigeria puts it aside in the name of we cannot bring something new. Even when you have brought in something new in the past. That brings me back to what I said earlier. It depends on their mood, not on the Constitution. But what now marvels me is that the Constitution gives them the power to sit in the bench. Gives them the authority they wield today is from the Constitution, not technicalities. Meanwhile, most of our judgment are riddled with all sorts of technicalities. I believe that Obi did not really say everything the way it appears. And I know that everybody in the country knows, even those in power and those in opposition. Everybody knows what is happening to us. But what we don't know is the outcome. 10 years ago, we were talking, a lot of people were talking about the outcome of corruption. Nobody listened. Today, this is where we are. We can't even have one judgment and say we can reference to this. This is what this person said. Tomorrow, you will see a judgment counteracting what another judge had already given. If you ask them tomorrow, they will tell you, yes, the law gives us opportunity to make our opinions clear. Those are things you will hear from them. But I think Obi did the right thing by pointing them out. Someone has to say this. Someone has to nail it the way it is.
You know, actually, we do a lot of talking, you know, hoping that it gets to the right quarters, and to an extent, you know, the consciences are being pricked and things begin to go well. Like Obi has spoken up, and a lot of people are speaking up. We hope that before 2027, you know, somehow within the game of politics, you know, things begin to actually take place in the right direction. So one would ask and hope to know if Nigeria is actually, you know, heading somewhere as it concerns politics and the rule of law and governance as a whole.
Okay. To be frank, it is insane to think that the present people that are ruling the country would give us anything different from what we have now. See, let me tell you. Clearly, let me give you my reasons. The president is someone everybody respects. He's an elder statesman. He's currently the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Has a past. There is this saying that by our people that you don't learn left hand at old age. You can't have a past riddled with criminality, corruption, forgery, and now expect someone that have lived all